Today I'm going to walk you through the process of how to figure out if two people are truly the same and they're duplicates inside the tree, or whether they are separate individuals. Previously I did give a video on how to merge duplicates, and it was a really simple merge. And I told you I'd create a different video that taught you how to dive in to deeper problems and figure out whether two people were the same or not. And that's what I'm going to be doing today. And so when I came across this Nicholas Kohlhepp here on the left, I scroll down and I see in his family that he had two sons that were really close in age. One was born in 1865 without a death date, and the other one in 1868 and gave me a death date on him. And so I started wondering if that really was a duplicate or not in the system. So as I went over to John Nicholas's page, all I could see was when he was born, where he was born, and it had no spouse and absolutely no sources or anything else on him. And so that kind of made it difficult on me. So I went over to his brother, and I had a very solid birth and death on him, and even a burial, which made it extremely easy to find his wife and his two children, which he's got more, I just didn't list them yet. But I was able to find that really easy because I had tons, no, I shouldn't say tons, there was several census records, a marriage record, and even a death certificate and a cemetery record on him. And so with that, I was able to create this family and feel very solid that I definitely had the correct family here for John and for Maria, which she normally went by Emmy. And I could prove that, or at least give enough evidence that yes, they were indeed a family, but I still didn't have enough evidence to show me whether these two men were duplicates or whether they were just brothers. And so as I started thinking about this, I went back to John Nicholas's homepage, and he had a record hint sitting over here, and it was the 1900 census. And when I looked at that, I saw that he was living in Daunting, St. Charles, Missouri, which of course that's where I'm constantly finding this family. But as I looked down here, he had a wife named Minnie with a son Theodore, which that was not adding up to his brother, whose wife was Maria Emma, with these children, and never did these two have a son named Theodore. And so I started thinking maybe these really are two separate people on here. So I started following his mother at that point. And for me, one of the easiest things I feel when you're really having a headache trying to figure out if two people are the same or not, I jump into ancestry.com. So over here where it says search records, we have the ability to dive into either family search, ancestry, find my past, or my heritage. And I personally love jumping into ancestry because I love seeing the different trees that other people across the world have put in, and hopefully I'll luck out and find one on my own family. So as I did that, it brought me over here, this is ancestry.com over here, to Elizabeth Roth on the right. And she was loaded with some great sources over here. And here are her family, which you've got her husband and her children. And once again, there's only one John. So I was thinking, oh great, we're back to thinking he is a duplicate. So then I decided, okay, I got to go from every one of these sources and just start reading through all of these and looking at the original documents. And as I did that, I was lucky enough in this 1880 census, as I came across this, I found over here a Nick Kohlhepp, a Lizzie, which of course we can say that's Elizabeth, his wife. If we look, I'll pull this back over here on the left so you can see this family. Here's George, their oldest son. Then Nicholas, sitting right here. John as the next child. So that then gave me, okay, great. We've got George, there's that Nicholas, and John, and then of course underneath them they have Charles, William, and Eva. And Charles, William, and Eva. So there, for me, that was great evidence that these two men were separate people. But still, I wanted documents to prove that. And so I started following that 1900 census that I had originally pulled up on John Nicholas. And I couldn't find a whole lot on the parents at first. And so I thought, okay, let's go for Theodore, the son. So whenever I can't find anything on parents, I will go for a child. So when I started going through Theodore stuff, I found out that here's that 1900 census in Missouri. But then it started showing Theodore going from Missouri to Illinois, and that made me realize why I couldn't find those documents as this family moved. So it was great when I could actually look down the page in 1920 and see Theodore living in Illinois, but the very next one down, that 1910 census, here we have Theodore living with his mom and his dad in Illinois. So that was great evidence to me that that 1900 census that I found over here as a hint could possibly really be to the brother to John Kohlhepp, that they really did have two separate families. One lived in Missouri and one lived in Illinois. So as I went into Ancestry.com and started searching for records, I found them in the 1910 census, living together right here in this Alton, Madison, Illinois, which they pretty well hung out there in Madison, Illinois the rest of their lives. Here in the 1920 census, they are there again. And then in the 1940, Nicholas is just here with his wife now, and now it's Foster, Madison, Illinois. But the great thing was to go in and find an actual find a grave record on these two. And when I pulled that up, I was so excited to find Nicholas J. with this birth year and death year with Mina, because she often, Minnie, went by Mina on a lot of her different records that I was finding. So then I decided to try out Google. So I just typed in Illinois death records, and when I did that, I saw these death certificates in this time frame, which would have fit when the wife passed away. So I came into here, just clicked on search, and down below I just typed in what I felt would pull me up the best information was their last name. And then I went for, I knew that a lot of her records said that she was living in Madison, so I just searched down here for, let's see, select county, Madison, here we go, and submit that. And I can see her right here, Mina Kohlhepp, and that her death date was May 31st, 1945 in Foster, Madison, which that was one of the last census records we found on her was in Foster. And also, too, on her headstone it says 1945. So then I found it interesting with the way I've taken you trying to go through all of their sources I found. I decided to come back here to FamilySearch.org. So here I have John Nicholas Kohlhepp. Now he's the one that was married to Mina. And I decided to go search into their records. So when I clicked on Family Search, understand that by clicking inside of every one of these sites, I'm literally diving into documents, birth certificates, death certificates, census records, military records. So that's the beauty of those sites and how they can help me find my ancestors in documents or in trees also. And so when I clicked on Family Search, it brought up some different records that I started going down here, and I saw this one down here with Mina, which was a death or a stillbirth on somebody, and when I looked at it, it was actually Mina's herself, and there's that May 31st, 1945. So I have the ability to go in there, and here's her birth date and actually her maiden name. So that was pretty exciting too. So bringing you back to this family that I was working with and trying to prove whether these Johns were really duplicates or just brothers, you can see that oftentimes you literally have to take each person individually and source them as best you possibly can to determine whether they are duplicates or whether they're two separate people. And it can take a lot of time, but at the end it's really worth it. Even for the fact that, yeah, I felt like I gathered up enough information to show that yes, they were definitely brothers. But not only that, but now I can go in and add John's wife and children into this system too, and literally make this family more complete. So I really hope that I was clear enough on how this whole process works and that it can be helpful to you.